Ever notice how the loudest person in the room often gets the opportunity while the most qualified person stays invisible? How the person who brags about mediocre work gets promoted while the person who silently delivers excellence gets overlooked? How modesty seems to be rewarded with obscurity while shameless self-promotion gets rewarded with success. I am about to destroy the lie that has been keeping you poor and powerless. The lie of humility. The belief that if you just work hard and stay modest, the world will eventually recognize your value. It won't. And every day you believe this lie is another day you hand your success to people who refuse to be humble about theirs. You were taught that bragging is bad, that self-promotion is arrogant, that humility is a virtue, that your work should speak for itself. And while you were learning these lessons, other people were learning a different set of rules. Rules that actually lead to success, while yours lead to invisibility. These other people weren't smarter than you. They weren't more talented. They weren't more hardworking. They just understood something you were taught to misunderstand. They understood that the world doesn't seek out the humble, it rewards the visible. But here is what is going to change everything. Machiavelli saw through the humility trap 500 years ago. He understood that modesty is a luxury of the already powerful and a prison for everyone trying to rise. The humble stay where they are, the bold ascend. What if I told you that your humility isn't a virtue but a self-imposed handicap? That every time you downplay your accomplishments, you are actively sabotaging your future? That the modesty you were taught to admire is the very thing keeping you from the life you deserve? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why humility keeps you poor and powerless, what actually happens when you refuse to promote yourself, and how to own your accomplishments without becoming the kind of person you despise. Are you ready to stop being humble and start being successful? Drop this affirmation in the comments. I own my greatness. Truth number 1. Nobody is coming to discover you. Here is the first truth that destroys the humility myth. You've been waiting to be discovered, waiting for someone to notice your hard work, waiting for merit to be recognized without you having to point it out. You'll wait forever. Nobody is coming. The fantasy goes like this. You work hard, produce excellent results, stay humble, and eventually someone powerful notices and elevates you. This is the story you were told. This is the story that keeps you manageable. This is the story that is completely disconnected from how success actually works. Here is reality. The people making decisions are busy. They're not scanning the organization for hidden talent. They're not looking for quiet excellence. They're responding to what is in front of them. And if you are not in front of them promoting what you've done, you don't exist in their world. Machiavelli understood this perfectly, he wrote. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Decision makers see what is visible. They don't feel for hidden quality. If your quality is hidden by your humility, it might as well not exist. Think about how opportunities actually happen. Someone needs to fill a role. They think of names. Whose names come to mind? The people who've made themselves visible. The people who've ensured their accomplishments are known. The people who've refused to let their work speak for itself because they know work doesn't speak. Every time you stay humble about an accomplishment, you fail to register in the minds that matter. Every time you deflect praise, you deflect opportunity. Every time you let your work speak for itself, it speaks to an empty room. Work doesn't speak. You have to speak for it. Here is a brutal experiment. Ask the decision makers at your organization to name their top 5 performers. If you are not on that list, it is not because you are not performing. It is because you are not visible. The list isn't ordered by actual performance. It is ordered by visible performance. And visible performance requires self-promotion. The gap between your actual contribution and your perceived contribution is filled by self-promotion. If you don't fill it, no one will. If you leave it empty, you leave opportunity on the table. The humble person has a massive gap here. The self-promoted person has closed it. The people who get ahead understand this truth. They don't wait to be discovered. They ensure they're seen. They don't hope merit will be recognized. They make sure it is impossible to ignore. They don't stay humble. They stay visible. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I make myself visible. Truth number 2. Humility is often just fear in disguise. Let's talk about what is really behind your humility. For many people, humility isn't a virtue. It is a defense mechanism. It is fear of being seen and judged, fear of being called arrogant, fear of standing out and being cut down. The humble disguise protects you from risks that success actually requires. Think about what happens when you promote yourself. You become visible. Visibility invites scrutiny. Scrutiny might reveal flaws. Flaws might lead to rejection. Rejection hurts. So you stay humble and avoid the whole terrifying chain. Your humility is actually risk avoidance disguised as virtue. Here is what you are really afraid of. You are afraid that if you promote yourself and fail, the failure will be public. You are afraid that if you claim greatness and don't deliver, you'll be humiliated. You are afraid that confidence without proof will be exposed as arrogance. So you stay safely humble and safely stuck. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." The application here is that it is better to be seen and judged than invisible and safe. Fear keeps you small. Visibility, despite its risks, is the only path to growth. The truly humble and the truly afraid look identical from the outside. Both stay quiet about accomplishments. Both deflect praise. Both avoid self-promotion. The difference is internal. True humility is rare and comes from genuine security. What most people call humility is actually fear that has found a socially acceptable costume. Ask yourself honestly, when you stay humble about an accomplishment, is it because you genuinely don't think it is impressive, or is it because claiming its value feels dangerous? If the answer is the second, your humility is just fear. And fear is not a virtue. Fear is a limitation. Here is a test. Think of something you've accomplished that you've been humble about. Now imagine a close friend did the same thing. Would you advise them to be humble about it? Or would you tell them to make sure people knew? If you'd advise them differently than you treat yourself, your humility is fear-based, not virtue-based. Fear-based humility is actually a form of self-betrayal. You are abandoning yourself to protect yourself. You are hiding your value to avoid the risk of defending it. This might feel safe, but it is actually the riskiest position of all. It guarantees the very invisibility and stagnation you fear. The path forward requires separating genuine modesty from disguised fear. Genuine modesty knows its value and doesn't need to prove it. Fear-based humility hides its value because claiming it feels too risky. One is strength. The other is weakness. Know which one you are practicing. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My humility is not fear. Truth number 3. The humble stay poor while the bold get rich. Let's talk about money specifically. There is a direct correlation between humility and income. The more humble you are about your value, the less money you make. The more bold you are about your value, the more you receive. This isn't coincidence. It is cause and effect. Here is how it works in salary negotiation. The humble person is uncomfortable discussing their worth. They feel asking for more is greedy. They accept what is offered because pushing feels arrogant. They leave thousands or millions on the table over their career because humility made negotiation feel wrong. The bold person is comfortable stating their value. They've done the research. They know what they're worth. They ask for it directly. They negotiate without apologizing. They often get more, not because they're worth more objectively, but because they asked for more confidently. Machiavelli observed, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who will trick will always find another who will suffer to be tricked." The trick here is that employers have taught you humility serves you. It doesn't. It serves them. Your humility about salary directly transfers wealth from you to them. The same applies to business. The humble entrepreneur undersells their product because charging what it is worth feels arrogant. The bold entrepreneur prices for value and defends that price confidently. Same product. Different pricing psychology, massively different outcomes. The same applies to opportunities. The humble person doesn't apply for positions they're not perfectly qualified for. The bold person applies anyway and often gets it. The humble person waits to be offered opportunities. The bold person creates and claims opportunities. Same capability, different approach, different results. Money flows to those who believe they deserve it and communicate that belief clearly. Humility about your financial worth directly creates financial poverty. The universe doesn't reward humble relationship with money. It rewards confident, value-claiming relationship with money. Here is what the wealthy understand: that the humble don't. Money is exchanged for perceived value, not actual value. If you perceive your value as low and communicate that, you'll receive low payment. If you perceive your value as high and communicate that, you'll receive higher payment. Same actual value. Different perceived and communicated value, different financial outcomes. The humble person thinks wanting more money is greedy. The wealthy person thinks accurately claiming their worth is honest. The humble person feels uncomfortable discussing money. The wealthy person discusses it clearly and directly. These psychological differences compound over decades into massive wealth gaps. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I claim my financial worth. Truth number 4. Your modesty insults your work. Here is something that might reframe humility for you. When you downplay your accomplishments, you are not being virtuous. You are insulting everything that went into creating them. Every hour of work, every sacrifice made, every obstacle overcome. Your humility dismisses all of it. Think about what you are really saying when you deflect praise. Oh, it was nothing. You are saying the years of skill, building were nothing. I just got lucky. You are saying your strategic decisions were luck. Anyone could have done it. You are saying your unique contribution was generic. These aren't humble statements, they're lies. Your accomplishments weren't nothing. They required capability you developed. They required effort you expended. They required courage you summoned. When you dismiss them, you dismiss yourself. And every time you dismiss yourself, you train others to do the same. Machiavelli wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Your accomplishments are titles you've earned. When you fail to honor them, you fail to honor yourself. When you downplay them, you teach the world to downplay you. Your modesty becomes their permission to overlook you. There is also the matter of those who helped you. When someone contributed to your success and you dismiss that success, you dismiss their contribution too. The mentor who guided you, the colleague who supported you, the family who sacrificed for you. Your humility about the outcome devalues everyone's input. Owning your accomplishments isn't arrogance. It is accuracy. It is honoring the real work that created real results. It is respecting yourself enough to acknowledge what you've done. It is respecting others enough to acknowledge what they helped you achieve. False modesty isn't a virtue. It is a betrayal of truth. Here is a reframe that might help. When someone compliments your accomplishment and you deflect, you are essentially telling them their judgment is wrong. They thought something was impressive. You are telling them it wasn't. Who are you to tell them what they should be impressed by? Accepting praise is actually more respectful than deflecting it. Try this instead. When praised, simply say thank you. Maybe add what you enjoyed about the work or who helped. But start with thank you. Not, oh, it was nothing. Not, I got lucky. Not, anyone could have done it. Just thank you. This honors their judgment while accepting your accomplishment. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I honor my accomplishments. Truth number 5. The world doesn't want you humble. It wants you useful. Here is a truth that cuts through the humility mythology. The people encouraging your humility aren't doing it for your benefit. They're doing it for theirs. A humble you is an unthreatening you. A humble you is a manageable you. A humble you is a you that won't compete with them. Think about who told you to be humble. Parents who wanted you to be likable. Teachers who wanted you to be manageable. Bosses who wanted you to not threaten them. Society that wanted you to know your place. Every humility lesson came from someone who benefited from your smallness. Machiavelli understood this dynamic perfectly, he wrote. He who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation. You were told you ought to be humble, but what actually gets done by those who succeed is self-promotion. Following the ought has been affecting your ruin. The world doesn't want your humility. It wants your capability. It wants your contribution. It wants what you can produce. But it can't access any of that if you are too humble to make it visible. Your humility doesn't serve the world. It deprives the world of what you could offer. The people who've made real contributions to the world weren't humble about them. They promoted their discoveries, their inventions, their art. They made sure their work was seen, used, spread. Their self-promotion served humanity. Their hypothetical humility would have robbed humanity. If you have something valuable to offer, hiding it behind humility is selfish. The person whose solution could help millions, but who is too humble to promote it, is not virtuous. They're negligent. They're putting their comfort with smallness above the impact they could have. Think about it this way. If you had a cure for a disease and stayed humble about it, waiting to be discovered, people would die who didn't have to. Your humility would have a body count. Now apply this same logic to whatever value you have, whatever problems you can solve, whatever improvements you can make. Your humility has a cost to others, not just to yourself. The framing shifts everything. It is not about whether you deserve visibility. It is about whether the world deserves access to what you can offer when you make it about service. Rather than ego, self-promotion becomes a form of contribution. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My visibility serves others. Truth number 6. How to own your greatness without becoming a monster. Now let's address the obvious concern. You don't want to become the arrogant person everyone hates. You don't want to be the self-promoter whose empty boasting makes everyone cringe. You want to own your accomplishments without losing your soul. Here is how. First, distinguish between claiming value and manufacturing value. Arrogance is claiming more than you've done. Confidence is claiming exactly what you've done. The problem with self-promoters you hate isn't that they promote themselves. It is that they promote a fiction, promote reality, and you are not them. Second, let accomplishments speak while you amplify. You are not making things up. You are making sure real accomplishments are heard. There is nothing wrong with saying, "Let me tell you about a project where we achieved significant results." You are directing attention to reality, not creating fantasy. Third, share credit generously while still claiming your role. I was part of a team that achieved this, and my specific contribution was this. This acknowledges others while not erasing yourself. The arrogant person steals credit. The confident person claims their portion accurately. Fourth, be matter of fact rather than boastful. There is a difference between "here is what I accomplished," stated with natural confidence, and "oh my God, you won't believe how amazing I am," stated with desperate insecurity. Tone matters. Calm claiming is different from anxious boasting. Fifth, back claims with evidence. Arrogance is unsupported assertion. Confidence is supported assertion. When you claim an accomplishment, have the receipts, have the numbers, have the results. Evidence-backed claiming is respected. Evidence-free claiming is despised. Sixth, remain curious and learning. The monster self-promoter thinks they know everything. The confident achiever knows they're still growing. Pair your accomplishment, claiming with genuine questions. Show that you are confident about what you've done while humble about what you still need to learn. Seventh, read the room. There are moments for full self-promotion and moments for restraint. In a job interview, promote fully. At a funeral, hold back. Context matters. The skilled self-promoter knows when to amplify and when to mute. This isn't inconsistency, it is social intelligence. Eighth, let your track record do some heavy lifting. Once you've built evidence, you don't have to promote as hard. Early in your career, you'll need to advocate more vocally. Later, you can point to results and let them create credibility. The trajectory moves from more vocal to more evidenced. This is the path between false humility and toxic arrogance. Claim what is real. Share credit where due state without boasting. Back with evidence, keep learning, read the room, build the track record. You can own your greatness without becoming the person everyone hates. You just have to be accurate, generous, and growth-oriented. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I own my greatness with grace. If you've made it this far, you understand why humility has been keeping you poor and powerless. Nobody is coming to discover you. Your humility is often just fear in disguise. The humble stay poor while the bold get rich. Your modesty insults your work. The world doesn't want you humble. It wants you useful, and you can own your greatness without becoming a monster. These truths don't mean you need to become an insufferable self-promoter. They mean you need to stop hiding behind false modesty that serves everyone except you. There is a massive middle ground between cringe-worthy bragging and self-erasing humility. That middle ground is where success lives. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool eventually learns through years of invisibility and poverty that humility doesn't work. The wise person rejects the humility trap immediately and starts claiming what they deserve. The humility you were taught was designed to keep you manageable. It was designed to make you unthreatening. It was designed to ensure you wouldn't compete for resources with the people teaching it. That programming ends today. If this video showed you why humility has been holding you back, smash that like button. If you know someone still hiding behind false modesty, share this with them. And if you want more content on claiming the success you deserve, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Starting today, make yourself visible. Claim your accomplishments. Ask for what you are worth. Stop waiting to be discovered and start ensuring you are seen. The world rewards the bold. The world forgets the humble. Choose which one you want to be. Here is your homework. This week, share one accomplishment you've been humble about. Send the email to your boss. Post about it on LinkedIn. Tell a friend. Practice the feeling of claiming what you've done. Notice how uncomfortable it feels. Do it anyway. The discomfort is the growth. Next week, do it again with something else. Build the muscle. Make visibility a habit. Train yourself to claim rather than hide. Each time will feel slightly less uncomfortable until eventually owning your accomplishments feels natural. Your humility has cost you enough. Years of invisibility, thousands in unclaimed salary, opportunities that went to louder, less qualified people, accomplishments that went unrecognized, impact you never made because you hid your light under a bushel of false modesty. That ends now. Now drop this final affirmation in the comments. I own my greatness. Because in a world where most people hide behind humility while a few claim what they deserve, the person who refuses to be humble holds all the power. Be that person, claim what is yours. And watch how everything changes when you finally stop being modest about who you are.